Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Zain, and on this channel I react to videos that interest me. So if that sounds like your thing, please make sure you subscribe right now and give this video a big thumbs up because I urge you are going to enjoy it.
We wrote that op-ed in December for the New York Times, essentially calling out the risk of what we see happening now.
In December.
Casualties, deaths at a massive scale, particularly of children, which in our view are avoidable if there was a ceasefire, and we have called on that for months and months now. Ceasefire for all parties.
Thank you. Months and months, everybody's been calling for a ceasefire, and there are only a few people saying no to the ceasefire. There are only some people vetoing against the ceasefire. There are only some people saying no to the ceasefire, and it is not the Palestinians, and it is not the Hamas terrorists. Okay.
To adhere, to release hostages, and to allow aid to come in at a massive scale.
I'm sorry not to detract from what she's saying, but I know that, some presidents of some countries are already changing their tune when it comes to the ceasefire thing, and they're already talking about how they are also proposing a ceasefire now, and how it's only Israel that is refusing to, accept the ceasefire terms. I mean, I'm not going to deceive myself into thinking that some people just had a change of heart and they just suddenly saw the light, and out of the goodness of their hearts they decided to change their minds on the stance. Of course not. A politician is a politician is a politician, and sometimes when people take certain stances, especially if they are politicians, is because it serves their agenda, and when they switch their stances to maybe the opposite of those previous stances, it's also because that serves their agendas as well. So it's all about your agenda, in this case your political agenda. I'm going to leave it there. Now let's go back to this, the children.
And sometimes these numbers, I think, numb people, right? Because behind every number is a child or its parents, the community, the family that loses that child. And we've always said for months now, put yourselves in the shoes of those parents, of those innocent civilians who are caught up in this conflict, and imagine that it was your child, your cousin, your grandchild. That was.
This is the essence of empathy, and I always highlight this. I always emphasize whenever I talk about this, and it comes up because I feel like many of people who look at what's going on as if it's okay in some form or fashion, who bring up this complicated explanations for why things have to be the way they are and why things have to go on the way they are, and people who take the side of the oppressors against the against those who are oppressed, and people who blame the victims, many of them just lack empathy. Many of them just lack empathy, and this is the essence of it. Put yourself in the shoes of the people who are experiencing it and see if it were your auntie, your uncle, your parents, your grandparents, your children, if you were your grandchildren, somebody in that situation, and see whether you'll still be interested in your complicated political, socio-economical ramifications, blah blah blah.
Exposed to this level of trauma, let alone death. And sometimes that makes people remember their humanity. Sometimes. But if you look at the actions on the ground, even over these past couple of weeks, it has even gotten worse. I was in Gaza myself 8 weeks ago, and I saw, sadly, exactly what I expected to see. Scores of children, huge undernutrition, malnutrition, children without shoes, children without a home, people sleeping in tents, often with 20 or 30 people at a time, no access to clean water. A real issue, health issues abound, children with rashes, coughing, fever.
What do you expect? No clean water, apart from no food, no clean water, over 20 of them in one tent. They look at no shoes and you expect them not to be sick. Like, what else do you expect?
There's pneumonia, etc. So, and it's gotten worse since. When I was there 8 weeks ago, not nearly enough trucks made it in. I think we were about 150 or so a day. Over the last couple of weeks, it has really slowed down to a trickle because of the closure, even of the few crossings that were open. And
they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose. We know this now. We know this much now, right? So the ones that the Israeli officials do not prevent from passing by, they tell them you have to keep going and you must not stop on the road until you get to Gaza. And some of the ones that they're allowed to pass by, some religious extremists decide to stand in front of the moving trucks and stop them from going. And you know, sometimes they are able to stop the trucks, but sometimes the drivers do not wait. And then some of the trucks that they actually allow to pass by, some other ones that aren't stopped by the Israeli forces or by the religious extremists, they are hijacked by some of these other officials, and then they show us on the internet that look at the flour you sent, we are receiving it now and we're about to cook it, so thank you. Right, so that's what is happening. So the people who need it can actually get it, and even if it gets to them, it's still too late at this point.
There are areas within the Gaza Strip that have had no aid supplies whatsoever for the last for these last past months. Out of school since the start of this conflict, we estimate. I mean, we don't know the exact numbers, of course, because it's so hard to get people on the ground. But we estimate that over 80% of schools are either damaged or completely destroyed. What's left of some of these schools are actually populated by people who are displaced. So there is no way schools can function at this point in Gaza. Save the Children has been running where we can do so safely, learning spaces, child-friendly spaces as we call them, where children can be children, they play, they learn, but clearly this is not even close to resembling a formal education system. There are many months behind that. Numbers that are estimating that 17,000 children have lost their parents, or at least one parent. So, no, the trauma is unimaginable. We've been calling 4 months now for a ceasefire, for all parties to adhere to it, for the violence to stop, and then for allowing massive aid to come in, to flood Gaza, to make sure people get access to clean water, to food, to shelter, and every other basic supplies in order to start rebuilding their lives, and for humanitarian workers to be able to do their work safely and securely
without being killed. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's heartbreaking, but it's just crazy. Again, the blatant criminal actions of that regime, their true colors, are getting exposed now. It's all coming to an end. So very soon we'll be hearing good news, hopefully. Like I said before, some people are already changing their tune, so we'll see what will happen. Ours is just to wait and observe, and of course keep talking about it. But anyway, shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video with me till the very end. If you've not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe right now and leave a comment below. I'd love to read your thoughts. Thank you once again, and I will see you next time.